Life has a funny way of knocking us down when we least expect it. One minute, you're doing everything right, working hard, providing for your family, and the next, everything crumbles. My name is Emma, and my story starts with a day I'll never forget. I was a single mom, trying to juggle a full-time job as a marketing assistant while raising my son, Lucas. It was hard, but I managed. Every day was a balancing act between my responsibilities at work and the demands of being a mother. One day, things took a turn. Lucas, who was only 6 at the time, woke up with a fever. I called the office, explaining that I couldn't find a babysitter at the last minute. My boss, Karen, told me that I could take him to the office, but it wasn't ideal, but what was I to do? Lucas couldn't stay home alone, so I packed him up, brought him to the office, and hoped for the best. I figured, it's just one day. What could possibly go wrong? I hadn't expected the looks, the disapproving stares from my colleagues, the way they whispered behind my back as if I was breaking some unspoken rule. I tried to ignore it, focusing on my work, but the tension was thick. And then Karen walked in. The moment she saw Lucas sitting at my desk, she frowned. She didn't even try to hide her disapproval. "Emma," she said, "we've discussed this before. This is a professional workplace, not a daycare." Before I could explain, she fired me. Just like that. I was dismissed in front of everyone, with no empathy, no understanding. I left the office, humiliated, my heart heavy, clutching Lucas's hand as I walked out of the building. The feeling of being fired wasn't just about losing my job. It felt like I had lost my dignity. I wasn't just a mom trying to make ends meet. I was an outcast now, a failure. But as I stood there looking down at Lucas, I promised myself something. I would never let this defeat define me. I would show him that no matter how tough life got, we could still make something of ourselves. The first few weeks after I lost my job were some of the darkest days of my life. I scoured job boards, attended interviews, but nothing seemed to click. It was hard, really hard. I felt like I was invisible, and my confidence was shattered. Every rejection felt like a personal failure. I wanted to quit. I wanted to crawl into a hole and hide. But then, as if by instinct, I remembered the promise I had made to Lucas. I couldn't give up. I couldn't teach him that when life knocked you down, you stayed down. One day I sat down at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. And then an idea hit me. What if I could start my own business? I had always been passionate about design, about branding. Maybe, just maybe, I could turn this passion into something real. The thought was terrifying, but I had nothing left to lose. So I took a leap of faith and started a freelance marketing business from my tiny apartment. I used all my savings to build a website, buy ads, and get the ball rolling. At first it was just me, working late nights, putting in the hours when Lucas was asleep, hoping for a breakthrough. But nothing happened overnight. In fact, it felt like I was sinking deeper into debt with no real clients to show for my efforts. It would have been easy to quit, but I couldn't. Not when Lucas was depending on me. As the weeks passed, my business began to gain some traction. I landed a couple of small clients, but it wasn't enough. I was barely keeping up with my bills, and Lucas's daycare fees were piling up. I spent every waking hour working, yet I could hardly afford groceries. It was like running in place, exhausted, but not getting anywhere. One evening, after putting Lucas to bed, I sat at my desk, staring at my screen, wondering if I'd made the right decision. What was I doing? Was this really going to work? And then, as if in response to my doubts, an email notification popped up. It was a potential client, a small local business owner who needed help with his branding and marketing. He had seen my work online and wanted to meet. It wasn't a huge deal, but for me, it felt like the universe was giving me one last chance. I didn't sleep that night, rehearsing what I would say and how I would present myself. The next day, I met with the client at a coffee shop, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. The meeting went well. The client signed on, and my business grew by one small step. With that client under my belt, my confidence grew. I began to take on more work, slowly building up a portfolio. I wasn't making millions, but I was surviving. I learned how to manage my time, how to scale my business, and how to make smarter decisions. A few months into this new journey, I received a message that would change everything. It was from a man named Alex. He said he had been following my progress and was impressed with what I was building. He wanted to meet. I had no idea who he was, but when I met him, everything clicked. Alex wasn't just another investor or entrepreneur. He was someone who understood what it meant to start from nothing. He had grown up in a similar situation to mine, raising a child while trying to make ends meet. We talked for hours about business, life, and how the challenges we faced shaped who we were today. He saw potential in me that I hadn't seen in myself. He told me that he wanted to help me scale my business. I was skeptical at first. But as he shared his own story, I realized that this was the opportunity I had been waiting for. He became my mentor, guiding me through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. His belief in me ignited a fire within me. It was time to take my business to the next level. Under Alex's mentorship, I learned how to build a real business. I hired a small team of talented individuals who believed in my vision. We worked together to create innovative branding strategies for our clients, and slowly, my business grew. But the road wasn't easy. There were days when I felt like I was on the verge of burnout. There were moments when I doubted myself, when I questioned if I was capable of handling the pressure. But Alex always reminded me that success didn't happen overnight. It was about perseverance. One of the biggest lessons I learned was the power of mindset. I began to view every obstacle as a chance to learn and grow. When clients pulled out, I didn't panic. I adapted. When competitors started to grow, I didn't feel threatened. I innovated. It wasn't long before my marketing agency began to land bigger clients, national brands, startups, and tech companies. My reputation in the industry grew, and so did my revenue. I went from struggling to make ends meet to running a successful multi-million-dollar business. Looking back, I realized that the fire that had burned inside me, the fire that had kept me going through the darkest days, was what had fueled my success. Every setback, every rejection, every challenge had made me stronger. Now my company is one of the leading marketing agencies in the country, and as I sit in my office looking out the window at the city skyline, I can't help but think about how far I've come.